And we'll now turn to questions, and I'll begin with the first round. All three of you are currently TSA employees, correct? And all three of you bravely have come forward to talk about retaliation, about a toxic environment, about misconduct within the areas you've worked. What concerns me is some of it is historic, but at least the first witness and the second witness, or third witness, I heard say they believe it still continues. And would you say that's the case? Is this still going on?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Livingston?
Yes, sir, I would agree.
Mr. Rhodes?
Yes, sir.
So that's very troubling. You unfortunately confirmed some of our worst suspicions. They have a huge bureaucracy in TSA. We've had about 45,000 screeners. We're somewhere in the neighborhood of 42, I guess, is a cap. But 52,000, and I know they cooked the books a bit and moved some positions to other agencies. But there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 8,000 to 10,000 administrative personnel making. Well, I know there are 4,000 in the D.C. area make over $103,000 a year on average, so they're well paid. I read the stories of you, what they did to you, and since we've begun this inquiry, we've had dozens of others come forward throughout TSA telling us that they've experienced similar misconduct. I'm a little bit concerned. I've tried to give Neffinger, the new administrator, a chance to straighten things up. But again, you tell me that the people who are the most abusive are still there. Is that right, Mr. Brenner?
Yes, sir. I didn't go on record with your comment. What I have observed in TSA, I think Mr. Neffinger has done his best to engage and get his arm around the situation, but we haven't resolved it. We have had instances happen.
But the people, I mean, this comes from a pretty high level, and the retaliation has taken place. I know there's been some memos, et cetera, operational guidelines that have been revised, but the folks are still in place. That's got to be pretty demoralizing.
It is, and they are still in place. I can tell you that, and I don't want to go into specific detail by mentioning names because they are entitled to some sense of due process in an investigation, but the reality is not only are they still with the agency, some of them are still in their original positions even today. So well, we continue to have this issue.
What concerns me too is that the ability to perform now is also hindered. Neffinger is well-intended, but some of the reports that leaked about the poor performance, and you saw some cooking of the books too on wait times. Is that correct, any of you?
Yes, sir.
You did, Mr. Rhodes. That has been the failures of performance, and then the wait times, and then the retaliation. There's been retaliation for also the facts coming out. I don't want to say that you revealed the facts, but those were the facts of what was taking place. Some of you got blamed for that. Is that correct, Mr. Bernard, Mr. Livingston, Mr. Rhodes?
Yes, sir.
All three. I'm very concerned about what's taken place. Now, again, Neffinger is well-intended. He's trying to correct the situation with more training, et cetera. But TSA can't recruit, it can't train, it can't retain, it can't schedule, and it can't manage the huge bureaucracy that's been created. That's part of the problem, and it won't be corrected. Then those people on the line see what's taking place. They've pulled me aside at my airport. You see those three guys that are doing nothing, Mr. Mica, sitting there, they're all making over 100 grand. We're busting our tail trying to process these people, and they're having a sit-down chat and enjoying themselves. Part of the, I guess TSA gets the name thousands standing around, but these guys are thousands sitting around earning huge salaries while the others are doing their work. The meltdown that's already occurred, my colleagues, Here's just a few headlines. This is Fort Lauderdale, Miami. American Airlines, 6,800 people last month missed their flights. Chicago, 1,100 American Airlines missed their flights. Chicago. Charlotte Airport, 3-hour waits on Good Friday. Long lines, cranky travelers. Seattle. This one's Denver. This one's JFK. I mean, we haven't gotten to the summer when you get the heavier traffic. You all know what I'm talking about. You think we're headed for a rough time this summer, Mr. Brown?
I absolutely believe that's the case. And, I think it's important to point out that when we're talking about personnel issues and we're going and talking about the senior executive service and the people who are still here, it goes beyond that. A lot of the things that you're reading about in the paper, the things about the $1.5 million app, for instance, same decision makers. When you're talking about moving security resources out of airports, same decision makers. When you're talking about, turning the FTE back in order to bean count, which has put us in quite a situation for this summer, same administrators. The same people who broke this agency are the same people who are essentially still running it. And I will offer to you that in post the testing results coming out, there was a Tiger Team effort that took place in TSA. And of that Tiger Team effort, there were some wonderful recommendations that were offered. I can offer you that I served as a senior advisor for a period of about 2 months. And I can tell you the most important part of that survey, most important part of that working group was fix the security. And the second most important part was fix the leadership. And somehow I don't think that message got back.
Well, thank you.
Sir.
Did you want to say something?
Sir, I
Real
can
quick,
add
I'm going to yield as much time to Mr. Cummings, but go ahead.
Sir, I can add a very unique perspective to your first question. As a member of that senior leadership team, I sat in the office or at the table with the other senior leaders as a deputy assistant administrator. I can tell you that Administrator Neffinger has brought a new perspective to the agency. He's actually hired a chief operating officer. The problem is he's got the same people doing the same thing, doing the same problems. He has the right mindset and the energy to change it, but he's got to put different people in different positions. He's not going to get there with the same team. He has the energy and the focus to do it, but he can't do it with the same people.
Well, what you tell us is troubling. Let me yield now to Mr. Cummings.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.